Tower Defense X is a recent game released and advertised by the YouTuber John Roblox. It takes place in a heavily modern warfare setting. It has a fine variety of objects and weapons, each serving its own valuable purpose. And if you haven't guessed by now, these said weapons have their own place in the real world. In this video, I'll be talking about the towers and weapons in the game and determine its real life counterparts. And this is part 1 of the new series I now have made. And the game is still in beta, so watch this video age like milk quickly. But this video is also going to be my Christmas video for y'all, so hope you enjoy. This series is inspired by Humo of the series of the origins of TF2 weapons. I highly suggest watching the video, it's fun. And if you guys spot some things you want to talk or criticize about, feel free to comment. I'd love to learn something new every day anyways. I'd love to learn something new every day anyways. But without further ado, let's take a look at them, shall we? The Ranger. They're based on the soldiers of the same name. The Ranger's purpose in the army is to engage in direct, close combat and firefights with the enemy, and sometimes inside their territory, conducting assault missions and invading their territory. So in other words, the cannon fodder infantry soldier. Moving on to his weapons. By the top pat levels, he wields an M16, specifically the M16A2 variant. In later levels, the gun will be given modifications, those being a red laser sight, a vertical foregrip, and a muzzle brake on the barrel. Although for some reason, the grip would be removed by level 4. And at the final level, he would now be wielding an M16 machine gun, no longer with a burst, just bowed on automatic. Starting at the bottom levels, at level X3, he starts with an SR-25, which is more of a marksman slash battle rifle version of the M16, which then has a flashlight and presumably a reflex optic. Then at the final level, the gun is now modified to have an M203 underbarrel grenade launcher that shoots incendiary grenades to burn the area of effect. Speaking of explosions, the hand grenade that the Ranger throws is an M16 fragmentation grenade, which is a service grenade in the American Army. Moving on to the next tower is a shotgunner. There's 3 things we can portray him as. 1. He's a breacher, an expert in close quarters combat using a shotgun for CQB or breaching through doors. 2nd, he's an enforcer using a shotgun to defend himself of any significant threat, presumably for non-legal crowd control. Or he's just some sort of terrorist. On a look at his weapons, on the base level, he wields a Winchester Model 1300, which for this level has its barrel and stock sawed off, but at level X2, it's brought back to its standard size. More onto his weapons, on the top pad, level 3X, he now wields a Minelayer M4, a semi-automatic shotgun. Now, on level X5, he now wields an Atishon Automatic Assault 12 or just the AA-12, which was infamous for being a fully automatic while having a fast fire rate. To make it even better, it has a 32 round mag to add more firepower to this absolute hell unleasher of a weapon. Moving on to the bottom pad, already jumping into level X5 since level X3 just recolors the Winchester Black. The gun used in level X5 is a DB12. The reason why it shoots in such a long range for a shotgun is because it shoots slugs. Slugs just essentially shoot a massive pellet instead of multiple smaller ones, exchanging crowd control for raw, powerful single target damage.
And the other path goes for a DP12, which is very long range and can penetrate through a lot of targets with the slugs.
The gun's also infamous for having 2 barrels, making it able to hold 16 shells at once. Finish with the shotgunner. Next is the Operator. They're based off of what they're called as. Operators in the military are soldiers that partake in special operations. So if you haven't guessed by now, these kind of soldiers are more known as the Special Forces. Soldiers who are more trained and experienced that are specifically designated with more complex tasks and operations. Onto his weapons. On the base level, he wields an MP5, specifically the MP5A2 variant, modified to have an EOTech holographic sight. This optic is used throughout the top 5 weapons. Next on level 2, he now wields an UMP45. The gun is made by the same arms manufacturing company that made the MP5, Heckler & Koch. Moving on level 3X, the operator starts wielding an assault rifle this time, which is the HK416. And even better, the 416 is also made by Heckler & Koch. Coincidence? I think not. Finally, level 5X now wields an SKS. Unfortunately, not made by the H&K, but is instead a Soviet-Russian marksman rifle that has been modernized. The overall cosmetics on max level top pad operator is based on the Ghost from the Call of Duty franchise, who was a fan favorite amongst the community for his iconic badass skull mask. Ghost is also a special forces operator, so why not make the TDX operator look like him? Next to the bottom pad, on level X3, he wields a G11. And guess what? It is also made by Heckler & Koch. Now, the G11 was popular for its extremely fast fire to be able to fire in bursts at 2,100 rounds per minute, meaning it is able to fire 36 times in just a second. Isn't that crazy? At the max level of X5, the operator now wields an F2000. Don't know what else to say. Now, moving on to its ability, the Humvee spawn ability. A high mobility, multi-purpose wheeled vehicle, or just a Humvee for short, are trucks that are built and designed for the army and are used as means of transportation to bring military personnel to the front lines. The Humvee model used, as we can best assume, is based on the M1151 Enhanced Armament Carrier, one of the improved versions of a Humvee. The Humvee seems to be mounted with an automated machine gun. The closest we can get to it is that it is mounted with the M2 Browning machine gun, one of the only guns to fire one of the biggest calibers, the 50 BMG, in fully auto. The mounted MG has to be controlled by someone, and it's not like a sentry. So we move on to the next tower, the Minelayer. In these areas, these types of towers are more fictionalized rather than being based on actual soldier types, so expect not much information on this tower and freezer. But first, landmines are explosives that detonate once they are stepped on or when the pressure plate is, well, applied pressure into it. Now in the military, there are no type of soldiers in which their specialty is mine laying, but instead there are vehicles that automate the mine laying themselves. An example of this is the GMC-3, where it places landmines on the rear end. Moving on to the weaponry. On level 3X, the Minelayer places claymores. Now claymores are special kind of landmines that only explode toward the direction that it's facing. But it doesn't actually explode TNT, it instead just blasts balls of steel. And no, claymores don't detonate on proximity, it is manually detonated. On level X4, the mines now have thermite. Thermite is a composition that releases large amounts of heat upon ignition. This is the same material used for things like fireworks and stuff like that, so when using a high explosive mine, it could release firestorms after a massive explosion. Although thermites were only used to disable enemy artillery and equipment, not against personnel, that would be a war crime. I wouldn't be able to talk about specifics about the actual landmines used for the tower since these landmines are extremely fictionalized. They do not take inspiration from actual landmines and only take in very geometric forms and vibrant colors, thrown down to the ground with no care as if it's going to accidentally detonate and just blatantly put there. Characteristics which are polar opposites to what a landmine should actually be. It just irks me. Next is a sniper. If it isn't obvious enough, a sniper is a type of soldier where they engage and eliminate the targets from long distances, oftentimes in concealment positions or in places where their target is at a disadvantage in these operations, using weapons designed to shoot ammunition with high firepower and velocity to take out the targets. Alright, onto the weapons. By the base level, he wields an M24, a marksman rifle well known for its precision and accuracy alongside with similar guns like the M40 and the Remington 700. Next on level 3 on the top pad, level 3X, the sniper wields the Shaytac M200 Intervention, which is said to be one of the best sniper rifles ever made. It is so good in fact that it's using an impractical yet flashy technique called trick shelling. On the final level of the top pad, level 5X gets the sniper to now be wielding an NTW-20, an absolute behemoth of a weapon. This sniper is an anti-material rifle that chambers the Herculean caliber of 28 by 82mm Mauser. The weapon is made to penetrate walls, take down military vehicles, and other stuff that no other weapons can even imitate a fraction of it. Next to the bottom pad, on level X3, he wields an M110, which is more of a sniper rifle version of the M16, very similar to the SR-25 as mentioned earlier. Now finally, on level X5, the sniper now wields a Barrett, specifically the M82A1 variant. The Barrett snipers in general were infamous for being able to fire big calibers of 50 BMG, while still being able to fire semi-auto, making the gun not only a powerhouse but also filled with consistency. Now to the freezer, probably the problem child of this entire series, since this is the only tower that is a complete work of fiction and therefore doesn't have any correlations to any real-life counterparts. Now the military, as of now at least, haven't used or invented any weapons that incapacitate or neutralize enemies through a freezing process. That is simply impossible to be done with the technology that we currently have, and either way, it would still be impractical in a combat scenario. When you try to talk about the quote-unquote weapons, all you can think of is the ventilation fan S thing by the muzzle. That's quite it. Moving on. For the last tower that we have for this video is the Missile Trooper. Now frankly, there are no names for soldiers that wield rocket launchers, but there are soldiers that are designated to be employed with a rocket launcher. The purpose of a rocket launcher is to be an anti-tank weapon, but also used to take down vehicles and fortifications, and most importantly, crowd control. Finally onto his weapons. By the base level, he wields the MK153 shoulder-launched multi-purpose assault weapon, or simply the SMAW, which grants the characteristics previously mentioned, although this SMAW doesn't have its optical scope, which is actually integral to its design. But by level 2X, he gets the scope anyway. Onto the top pad, by level 3X, the SMAW is upgraded, in which it extends the encasing of the rocket launcher in order to increase its firepower and cause bigger explosions. Level 4X, the SMAW is even more upgraded by changing the color of the encasing, possibly indicating that it's substituting with a bigger and stronger warhead for even bigger explosions. Now finally, level 5X, he finally wields the FGM 148 Javelin. What's so special about it is that its sight is a bit more advanced, a bit more sci-fi. What it does is that it marks targets, in which the rocket is fired, said rocket will track down the assigned target, essentially making it a homing missile, which makes the Javelin an extremely effective weapon against tanks and other such vehicles. Onto the bottom path, on the level X3, he wields a Carl Gustav M4. I know the upgrade says it's an M2 Carl, but the M4 Baron is more modern compared to the M2's old-fashioned design, which makes the M4 more fitting in TDX modern setting. And finally, now to the level X5, the upgrade calls it the MRL, which means multiple rocket launchers. But wait, there's a problem. There's no such thing as an MRL that is handheld. It's impossible to be able to shoot multiple rockets within the palm of your hands. It's quite disproportionate, or for now at least. But the original concept isn't completely alien yet. MRLs do exist in the real world, but these things are vehicles instead, which shoot a large barrage of birds of rockets into a designated area. And that's all the towers that I'll be taking a look at for today. Hope you do enjoy the video. If you want a continuation and even more of the series, please do let me know by leaving a like and subscribe. Any type of support in the channel is greatly appreciated. And as I said earlier, if you do want to talk about something, feel free to do so. I'm open to critique and I look forward to learning further. That's it for today. Thank you for watching the broadcast channel, and into the waters I go. Peace out. Exchanging for crowd, exchanging crowd, exchanging crowd for exchanging crowd control for raw, powerful. Exchanging.